One of the biggest misunderstandings in today's world is the avoidance of suffering. We've become so comfortable as a people, so sheltered as a society, right? That even the minor act of leaving your house to go and get food is seen as some big hunt or mission, right? And we'd rather sit at home and order our food on Uber Eats or DoorDash, right? I know I'm guilty of that a few times. So it's definitely a real problem. Now, this past year, we're only 3 or 4 months into 2026, but I've traveled a lot. I've visited 6 different countries. I've seen the capital of consumerism in New York City. I've seen the current state of the Roman Empire in Italy. I've seen the technological hub of Tokyo. Now, I've not found a happier people than that of the less fortunate countries I've been to. The warm, smiling faces of the Thais, the welcoming vibes of the Indonesians, right? I don't mention my travels to brag at all, but I'm trying to point out a glaring flaw in our current system of life. Why is it that the men I know in Thailand who are single fathers, right, they can barely afford to keep their roof over their heads, they can barely afford new clothes, and they have to fight tourists who are like hopped up on steroids every other day and risk getting knocked out, and I've seen them get knocked out flatlined just to feed their kid. Why are they happier than a lot of the people you'll see walking around Toronto, walking around New York City? I believe the answer can be found in my favorite verse in the Bible, which comes in 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 13 to 15, I believe it is. And it reads, "Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. But in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord." That is the verse. We are blessed to suffer for what is right, because suffering clarifies who you are, right? In a world where suffering can be avoided with the press of a button on your phone, more and more people report higher levels of loneliness and higher levels of mental illness. The diagnoses for mental illness, they're going through the roof these days. And I know a lot of people in my life that struggle with mental illness. I think the problem lies with when there becomes resistance to our goals, and when that resistance disappears, people lose purpose, men lose direction, and people lose pride in the efforts that they put in to build a skill or achieve their goals, you know? This ties well into the male loneliness epidemic that we face today, right? There was a time not too long ago where if you saw a girl you liked, right? If a man saw a girl he liked, he would have to go up to her and actually say something to her, right? And, you know, even though it's scary, right? You risk that social rejection, that uncertainty. The process built a certain level of confidence into these men and a certain level of resilience into these men that you just don't see in guys nowadays. Nowadays, that same guy will see a girl and he'll be like, "Oh, wow, she's pretty. I wish I could go and talk to her." And then he'll go on his phone and look for her on a dating app or on social media, avoiding all of the social pressure that came along with originally going up and talking to her, with originally going up and risking that social rejection, risking that uncertainty, right? And when you remove the risk of going up and getting rejected, you remove the reward, which is that higher initial attraction, that higher level of respect you gain from that girl, right? That higher level of resilience you build after putting in reps, right? The unfortunate consequences of modern comfort isn't that life has become too hard. Because in all honesty, if you're willing to suffer even 10% more than the average guy, if you're able to step out of your comfort zone even one time a day, you're already 99% ahead. 99% of the way ahead of people. The true tragedy, in my opinion, is that life has become so easy, so comfortable, that most people never even develop the courage to really live. So let that sink in. That's all I have for today. I'll see you guys next time.